I want to bring in Mehmet Çelik. He is the editorial coordinator at the Turkish news outlet daily Sabah. Very good to have you on the program. I want to start with this sort of renewed strategic defense agreements between the US and Qatar that we heard about from the foreign ministry spokesperson talked about there. What does that mean? I mean, is it Donald Trump picking up the phone to Netanyahu saying, no, don't do that, don't attack Qatar? Or is it actually placing Patriot missiles defending the skies over Qatar?
Well, first of all, we don't know the details of this enhanced defense cooperation deal. So whether that will be the expansion of the existing airbase, whether it will mean new security guarantees, whether it will mean some air systems to deter perhaps new attacks by Israel, we don't know the details and what that actually means. But from what we know is that it is something that already exists. However, I think bringing this back to the agenda or before the optics is the result of Israeli attack this week on Qatari soil, Qatari territory. I think that in a way this new agreement or this U.S. position with Qatar is in a way to show that the United States still values the Qatari relationship with the Qatar, and the Qatari security is still very important for the United States. I think Marco Rubio's visit to the region was in a way a damage control one, but at the same time, I think it failed to serve that damage control because Marco Rubio landed in Tel Aviv, stood by Netanyahu, the attacker of, the person who basically let go of the attack on the Qatari soil, the person who carried out this attack. Instead of landing in Doha, he landed in Tel Aviv, and that didn't really help the damage on the U.S. reliability for the region's countries. I think that's a very important point because the U.S. reliability in case of some security issues is very important for some of the GCC countries. And in the case of what happened this week with the attack on Qatar, I think there's a big question mark raised now whether the investment in the U.S. defense agreements, Donald Trump was very recently in Riyadh, and millions of dollars were spent on new deals with the new security agreements and defense deals. How that investment will actually be, for the GCC countries, how that will be translating to a return for their security. Now there is a question mark there. I think that is great. So Marco Rubio's, whether Trump picking up the phone, that's for the optics, but I think the region's countries are no longer buying that because behind doors, Netanyahu is able to do whatever he wants. He has a blank check. He has carried out attacks on more than 5-6 countries since this October 7th event took place 2 years ago. So he and Netanyahu's maneuvering area is much larger than how the United States wants to portray or how they want to display and how they want to show that sense of solidarity with the region's country, especially in the GCC. So I think that question mark will need to be put into calculations with the United States and GCC countries' relationship.
Mehmet, I'm wondering about the damage to the ceasefire negotiations here with this attack on both the mediator Qatar and the Hamas negotiators, with, Qatar sort of supposed to act as an impartial mediator between Hamas and Israel, but now Qatar has also been attacked, and we've heard about the calls from Qatar about Israel. They must face the consequences of their actions. Can Qatar still act as an impartial mediator, or does this sort of push the country to one side of that negotiation?
Well, I think from day one, Qatar's position has not been one that is super impartial in the sense that they don't have, equal closeness to Israel versus Hamas. Hamas members are in Qatar right now, but nevertheless, I think their role in mediating this negotiation table has been very crucial and has been very valuable for both sides. But with Israel's attack on Qatar, I think that shows I mean, it serves many purposes actually, and sends different messages to different actors involved in the regional dynamics as well as in the Hamas and Israel clashes or confrontation. Nevertheless, I think Qatar will still be a very important actor in this negotiations if the Israeli side continue to negotiate. And from what we've seen so far is that despite this effort, despite the Egyptian, Turkish, or Qatari efforts to mediate a ceasefire or negotiate, facilitate negotiation, Israeli side has not been very reliable in those negotiations. Israeli side has been failing to actually keep up with the terms of negotiation, and this is why the genocide has been ongoing regardless of these negotiations. This is why a ceasefire has not established. This is why new exchange of hostages has not taken place in the recent months. So the Hamas side and or the Qatari side are, I think, will be willing to still negotiate, and Qatar will definitely, I think, will still, with regardless of that frustration, will still continue to facilitate that negotiation platform. But the question mark is how much how reliable the Israeli side will be in continuing these negotiations when the facilitator itself is being attacked, and that is, of course, the Qatar. And now there is a new ground offensive in Gaza. So the terms or the conditions have also changed for these negotiations to continue.
Yeah. One day Israel is sending missiles on Qatar, and the next day they're sending a negotiating team. We'll just have to see how that whole thing plays out. Mehmet, Çelik, very good to have you on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you.